My name is Ken Schaden. I grew up in Chicago, a northwest suburb of Chicago called Norridge, Illinois. It's just a few miles from a little airport called O'Hare Airport. And that was back in 1939. And grew up there, went to high school, college. My childhood, what did I want to be when I grew up? Yes, I knew exactly what I wanted to be. My dad was a banker, and I wanted to be a banker. And that was it. I prepared myself when I was a very young boy to be a banker. I worked in the bank during my later grade school years on a Saturday, and in high school I worked at his bank also. But then as time went on, I left the bank and this was in the Wrigley building in Chicago, and I think most people know about the Wrigley building. So then I went to work for Wrigley Gum Company, which was up on the 15th floor. So but I really wanted to be a banker early on. But then as time went on, I guess it was more that I just wanted to be a businessman. What that meant at the time, I didn't really know. Came to Ohio, and I was transferred to Ohio by another company. Worked for a company called Bobby Brooks. They were a manufacturer of ladies' clothes, and they were one of the largest junior houses in the United States during probably the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And after I left there, I came and bought the store here. And I purchased the store in 1982. Wanted a nice, quiet life because I was traveling a lot for Bobby Brooks, traveling to the West Coast and over to the Orient and New York City, just all over the place. And I just, because of our large family, I just decided that, or we decided, I should say, because it was a family decision, that we needed to be a family where I was involved and not always on the road someplace. So I left Bobby Brooks and bought the store here, and we're going to just make it into a little grocery store where the whole family could work here and be involved. And that's what we did. And that was December 1st, 1982. And that's actually this December 1st, we will have completed 40 years. So that's been a long time. It's been a family operation for 40 years now, our family anyway. And when we purchased the store, we came in here and, well, it was not in very good condition at the time. But we weren't surprised. We knew that it had to have a lot of love and affection and a lot of hard work, and that's what we put into this place. Well, it happened to be that in this part of the main part of the building, some of our ceilings were falling down, okay? And we couldn't have that, so we took the ceilings down, but you know, we were looking at the raw woodwork, the old woodwork, the old beams and stuff like that, and we started taking the items that we found in the basement and the barn and back room and started hanging those around so that people would look at those items instead of looking at the ceilings. And we come to find that most of those were antiques. And one day, about 3 years after we purchased the store, a gentleman came in there with a lady, and he walked around and he said, "Boy, I like this place." He says, "I'd like to bring a bus here." I said, "Why?" He says, "Well, because I like your wooden floors. I like all your antiques that are hanging up here." And that. I said, "Really?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Well," "what are the people going to do? They're just going to come, you're going to drop them off, and they're going to spend some money here, but it's going to be kind of blah for them." I said, "How about if I get on the bus and ride around the Commons area here and tell them a little bit about our personal life and tell them about the Amish community and also the century homes that are around the Commons?" So he said, "That's okay." So that's what I did. So the second year after he came here, they brought over 150 buses that year to our store. And it just grew from there. And the people came and they liked our stories, my story of our family. We have 11 children, and then I traveled in the Orient and did all this traveling, and just took the step away from all that and downsized, so to speak. And they thought that was a good story. So that's what we did. We just told them all about the Amish people in this community, and about that this was the oldest store, the oldest general store, the oldest operating general store in Ohio, and probably one of the top 5 oldest operating stores in the United States. So it was a good story for everybody, and they enjoyed coming in here. And yes, the bottom line is they did purchase a number of items, and but then the other thing that happened is in later years they started coming back, but in automobiles, and they would bring their friends, and so it grew from there. Well, in 1990, my children had all worked in here, just doing various jobs. Some liked it, some didn't like it, which is obvious. But in 1990, in August, I was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and I had spread, and it was kidney cancer, and it broke my back and started going into my lungs, and I was sent home and said that I'd have 6 months. Well, the kids took over the store. They ran the store, and while they ran the store, I stayed in the hospital. I went through some treatments, experimental treatments. Well, this is 30 years later, and I'm still here. So it was a successful medication that they did on me. So, but I was gone for about a year. And when I came back into the business, the kids did some things different. I started looking at it, gee, I don't know, do I like this or not? And I thought, wait a second, they're running the business. Things are good. The sales are going up. The place looks good. Whoa, maybe I should just step back a little bit. So that's what I did. The kids ran the business. It ended up coming down to one of them was probably the most interested in taking over the business, and his name is Peter Schaden. And that's what he did. So I would have to say that it would probably be around 2000, 2002 is when I kind of stepped away and let him run the business. And that's what he did. And he's been running it. Actually, he's my oldest employee. So I said, we owned it for 40 years. Well, he's worked here for 40 years. So he's run the place very well. Why did I want to buy this store? Well, that's a good question. For years, when we moved out to Mesopotamia in 1975, okay, and while I worked in Cleveland for Bobby Brooks, we used to come to this store. It was a Clover Farm store at the time. We used to come there for some milk and some penny candy. I used to take the kids over there for penny candy. And my wife and I always loved the building. We just fell in love with the building. It's just a beautiful building, and we'd come in there. We liked the wooden floors. We just liked the history of this. And we loved the town with the commons. We thought that was really great. So when I started doing all the traveling, and that what came to mind was the store. That, again, to keep that family together was really important to me, because if I was going to have all these kids and that, why should I be gallivanting all over the world? I needed to be home with the family as much as possible. So this is what we felt was the right thing to do, would be to purchase a store. I came and looked at the store, walked in here, walked around the store, went home, mentioned it to my wife. That I went and looked at the place. I liked it. She came, we walked around here, and went one more time to the store, and the gentleman said, it looks like you're interested in it, but don't bargain with me. He said, this is the price. He said, not a penny lower. I said, oh, okay, we'll take it. And he just, like that, he just couldn't believe that was going to be a sale. And he had owned the store for about 47 years. Okay. So anyway, so then that's, we came in here, and like I said, I just fell in love with it, but also kind of shook our heads at all the work that was involved. But we tackled it. The main part of the store is 1840s. Well, as time went along, the people liked the history of the store, they liked the wooden floors, et cetera, et cetera. And then there was a gas station next door. And that gas station was about a 1940s gas station. So it came to mind that maybe we should buy the gas station. And then we'll have the parking in between the gas station and our store. We'll have that available to us. So we ended up buying the gas station. Well, then again, as time went on, we found that we were restricted in doing many things because of the size of the septic system that we had. It was too small. We were also unable to provide washrooms for our customers because of the size of the septic system. But in order to do that, put all this, update everything, it was rather costly. We needed to expand our building. So what we did is we ended up in 2010 putting a building between the gas station and the store. And because we did that, we also put in a brand new septic system that met the requirements of the EPA, and now we're able to do a little restaurant in our place and just do everything that we have been doing in here now. So that was, we needed something, we needed to expand the whole place. If we didn't go and do the septic system, we probably would be out of business in the next couple of years, because we would be unable to do ice cream, unable to make sandwiches, unable to do a number of other things. So that's why we ended up putting the addition in and the septic system. Regarding the community, Mesopotamia, again, I love the commons. I love all the homes around it, and it's become part of this community. And the people, we got involved in the historical society. I got involved with the fire department in as much as I was not a fireman, okay, but we have a volunteer fire department here. And there's a gentleman by the name of Eli Miller, an Amish fella, okay. He was a fireman, but Eli couldn't drive the fire truck. He was a fireman, but he couldn't drive. Since there was no one here during the day, all the volunteers worked elsewhere, I became the truck driver. So if there was a fire, I would go and get the truck, but I couldn't go and leave the fire department unless Eli was on the truck. So he and I would go to the fire, get there first. However, just to keep in mind, other fire departments would be called to assist us. But it was kind of interesting because it was just Eli and myself. So we were part of the community during the day. That was very, very important to us. But around the community, I like to talk about the people. I've seen these Amish children just come in here, buy a couple of pieces of penny candy, and now they come in here again and bring their own children in here. So over the 40 years, it's just wonderful seeing how the people have grown up. And we love the community. We're trusted by the community. We have many of our employees are Amish, and we just like our customers. On many mornings we have about 4, 5, 6 Amish fellas come in here, along with a couple of Yankees, and we sit and have coffee. So it's kind of a fun, the old days they used to sit around the fireplace and heater and talk. Well, we can't do that today, but we still sit around and talk. What all that was involved in once getting this store started was when we took it over, we had a lot of coolers that needed repair. Every time we turn around, we'd be calling the repair company. They'd come out and fix it and that. And so one of the biggest things that happened to us right at the beginning there was to go to the bank and get a decent loan in order to buy coolers, because I felt that if we were going to be involved with the store, we bought the building, we needed to do the things right. And the wrong thing was to keep fixing these old coolers that kept breaking down. The food would spoil, we'd have to throw it away. So the right thing was to buy new coolers, and we ended up buying new coolers. And then the next thing, when customers came in and they saw the new coolers, that gave them a very positive image that we were doing the right thing here. So our business started picking up with the local people. They had confidence that we were going to get the right products in here. They were going to be fresh and that. And then as time went on, then we had trucks come into the front of the store and unload in the front. Well, that kind of got messed up with the customers, so we ended up fixing up a dock in the back of the store and had trucks pull back there. So that was a big thing too. So we had to start meeting the needs of the customers and thinking about the customers. And then once that happened, we started having to get the right product in here, make sure it was fresh. Most of the time, we would have a lot of problems with deliveries. Small company, well, we were a small company, so large companies would not want to come and deliver to us. So we had a very difficult time in finding suppliers that would come here. So that was a major problem. And once we found the right suppliers, we tried to deal as much with that one supplier as possible, and get them to count on us that we were going to support them with sales and orders. So then the next thing was, one of our biggest hurdles was I had to hire someone that was not from our family, and that was the big decision. So we hired a girl, an Amish girl, and she was just terrific. She was just terrific. So I hired the right person, and she was with us for many years. So that was a big hurdle. And then, of course, the health department, the EPA, but we tried always to do the right thing here. And because we did that, the health department, the EPA, whoever, they had confidence that we were not trying to get away with something. We were above board with everything. As far as my retirement, I'm enjoying retirement. It's kind of nice to come into the store and be the Mr. Nice Guy, because I come around and I say hi to all the employees, I greet them, and now I don't know all their names, but I still greet them. And if somebody has a complaint, I find my son. Where's my son? Go see my son. So it's kind of fun coming into the store and just looking around and seeing all the things that have taken place here. It's the customers, see all the merchandise that's on the shelves, and I know how much work has gone into purchasing them, pricing them, maintaining freshness and that. I know how much goes into that, how much work goes into that, because I keep seeing the customers come around. So, and our customer count is growing. So I know my son is doing something right. So that gives me great pleasure in my retirement. But I enjoy coming in on many mornings and sitting there with the Amish fellows and a couple other people and having coffee and just talking about whatever, the weather, and having our cup of coffee and saying hi to people. And it's kind of fun during the summer, sitting out in the front of the building there and just watching all the people come by, and you just know so many people out here. Maybe you don't remember their names and that, but you know who they are. And then one of the biggest pleasures, it just happens every once in a while. Somebody will come in there and they'll say, "Hey, here's my baby," and an Amish girl will come in there with her child, and the mother had worked for us for many years, and now she's bringing the baby to show me how their life has changed. So that's kind of a fun thing. I always look forward to that. What I see today is I see a very busy place, and I'm just so proud of it. I'm proud to see the merchandise that is here and the freshness of everything, and it just makes me feel good when somebody comes from afar, especially when I see a license plate out there, if that's Montana or Florida or some other license. They've come off of that main drag, wherever they're traveling from and to, and they seem to find our place. That gives me a lot of pleasure. And also when I listen to some people and they'll say, "Oh, when I was here, we saw this, we saw that." So they're telling someone else about what they remember about this place. And then the other thing is when people come when they grew up in this area and moved away, and they've been away for 10 or 15 years, and they come back and they see the place. But I'll tell you, one of the things that makes me the happiest is the person that we bought the store from, Mr. and Mrs. Munson, Harry Munson. It gave him great pleasure to see that we were going to keep this store as a grocery store. Because he asked me, he said, "Are you going to turn this into an antique store or into some other type of a store?" And I said, "No, we're going to keep it as a grocery store." So it gave me great pleasure to know that he was pleased with us. They felt that it was in good hands, and that really gave me a lot of pleasure. Eat fry pies. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
That was perfect.